blue irises. I don't even know these words, but I'm assuming it means brown. Cognac?
I don't know how to say it, shoot.
Just said blue, and then he lists emerald or hazel. Just say brown! Hey everybody, it's Legend Wings again, back again with my friend Kaylee, and today we're returning to the marvelous book known as Modelland. Do we remember what happened last time?
Yes, I had to introduce like 7 different characters. Do I remember their names?
No.
Actually, I remember one.
Something
They were-
Joe.
Yes, Bevjo.
Bevjo!
Bevjo.
Bevjo.
I don't remember what her power
powers?
was.
30 never.
Oh, yeah. See, okay, so that's a great sign when we're introduced to 7 characters in a really long chapter, and we remember 1!
1 of 7. That's pretty good. It's pretty good considering some names are like 4 names smashed together.
Yeah, there's like the one that was supposed to be like Evangeline, and it wasn't. I don't.
Evangelinda.
Evangelinda. Yeah.
I remember because I didn't like that combination at all. at all.
Yep, but lots of what we thought were unneeded character introductions. We'll see how often they actually show up.
Yep.
All right, so today we're starting chapter 7, which is titled XO2. Oh, good. We're starting with a curse word.
Yay!
Damn it, woman! Where were you? Tookie's head jerked up from her pillow with a start. She'd been exhausted after the shopping trip and had gone straight to bed. How long have I been sleeping? You came home an hour later than you said you would, Mr. De La Crème continued with an acidic rage Tookie had never heard before. Then there was a sound of liquid sloshing from a jug, followed by the sharp, sour smell of tater mash. Mrs. De La Crème sighed. You're drunk, Christopher. For the last time, we were at the mall buying a dress for your daughter and stopped to watch the 7-7 ceremony. Woman, whether you disappear for an hour or days at a time, Mr. De La Crème scoffed, you always have some clever excuse. Tookie peeked around the corner into her mother's office, which was next to the kitchen. Mr. De La Crème was dressed in an ivory satin nightgown with a... Oh, Mrs. De La Crème was dressed in an ivory satin nightgown with a matching robe that cinched her waist so tightly Tookie thought it might leave permanent indentations. Creamy sat in a lambskin chair at her massive desk. Brand new books with shiny covers lined the shelves. Sitting on the long, backless couch and the windowsills and in custom displays all around the room was her doll collection, which she'd started years before Tookie had been born. There were swaddled babies, dolls with eyes that opened and closed, dolls that wet themselves and digested food and spoke.
We have dolls that cry, talk, walk, blink, and run a temperature. We don't need any chewing dolls.
Each was positioned just so, an arm curled here, a leg crossed there. Their heads pointed straight at Tookie's mother, as though she were conducting a meeting with all of them. Tookie wished that she could close every single pair of glassy eyes.
Yep.
Maybe if they didn't stare so adoringly at her mother, Mrs. De La Crème could resist their charms and would share some of her love with Tookie.
Is adoringly even how you would describe glassy-eyed dolls? In case you didn't know, we're not fans of dolls. Almost none of them.
Not really. There's a couple that are fine.
Yeah. American Girl, Bitty Baby. Generally pretty fine, but...
My grandma used to collect dolls, and some of them were really creepy if, like, you'd walk in the room and it was dark and you just saw this thing staring at you. Yeah, some of them were a little bit more creepy than they could have been.
Yeah.
Mr. De La Crème stood in front of his wife, his hands balled into fist on his hips. Oh, I know you stopped to watch the 7-7s, but I also know you can see that damn show from anywhere in the world. Hell, I saw it right here from our front porch. You could have watched it here with me, but no, you wanted to watch it with your man friend, didn't you? I know people, Creamy, and I trust what they tell me.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, boy. Mrs. De La Crème tossed her hair.
Toss!
So now your desperate flabby behind is spying on me? She laughed cruelly. Oh, Christopher, you have reached an all-time low. I pity you. Spare me, Mr. De La Crème growled. The only thing you should pity is that disastrous, petrifying mug of yours. Mrs. De La Crème instinctively touched her face. Oh, so the one-eyed, unemployed monster has the nerve to talk about my face?
Oh.
Have you looked in the mirror lately, dear? Oh, it's about to go down.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Mr. De La Crème slammed his jug of tater mash onto his wife's desk. That's what all this is about, isn't it? You think I'm damaged goods. He grabbed Bellissima from Mrs. De La Crème's arms.
Uh-oh.
Tuki's mother groped for the doll. Christopher, don't you dare hurt her. Her? He waved the doll in the air. You say that like she's a human being, like she's more important than me. Where do I fit in your life? Sometimes I think you wish that sword had killed me, so that you could continue your life with her father.
What? The dolls? Like,
I'll let you guess the next word. What? Mrs. De La Crème asked. Her eyes focused on Bellissima. Whose father? Your daughter's father, Creamy. Don't play dumb.
Oh.
Mrs. De La Crème blinked confusedly. Miracle's father? Mr. De La Crème laughed heartily. Oh, you wish I was talking about Miracle. You wish it were Miracle I had doubts about. That would make her all yours. But no, Creamy. She belongs to both of us, and we will both reap her rewards. You can't push me out that easily. He pointed at her. You know who I mean. The other one.
Wow. Thanks,
Ouch.
Dad. Thanks.
Tuki widened her eyes. Mr. De La Crème prowled around the room. Every time I look into that child's mismatched eyes, I see, or shall I say, I don't see it. Mrs. De La Crème paled. But Christopher, you have one green eye, just like hers. Mr. De La Crème glowered at her. There is nothing about me that lives within that girl, that circus freak. She is uncoordinated, unattractive, and unmemorable.
What?
Wait, what? He's the one that was in the circus.
He's the actual freaking acrobat. Why is he using circus freak as like
Why
a
is he-
slur?
Exactly. Isn't that like kind of rude? Because they'd be talking about himself as well. Wouldn't that be insulting to everyone? Like he worked with?
Right. Into himself.
Like I get it's
like,
trying to be like talk about like like a freak show kind of deal, but
yeah, but that doesn't work because he was actually in the circus.
right. You'd think that isn't something that he would want to say. Oh, jeez.
He's seen a lot of things that he probably shouldn't say.
Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. You are the only man I have ever been with. Tuki waited for her to say more, to deny that she thought Tuki was uncoordinated, unattractive, and unmemorable. But she didn't. It was the equivalent of saying she didn't love her. Tuki bit down hard on her inner cheek. I do too know what I'm talking about, Mr. De La Crème said calmly. She's not mine, Creamy. I haven't felt like she was mine from the second she hit puberty. She went from adorable to atrocious almost overnight.
What?
Wow, Dad of the Year award right here. Jeez.
Hmm.
They're so awful, both of them, but...
I'm so confused on so many levels.
What? Tuki whispered, pressing her spine against the back wall. She felt dizzy. Was this a nightmare? Creamy, let's be real, Mr. De La Crème continued. As soon as you got pregnant with her, you had to go off to some special medical facility to deal with all the complications you said you were having. Scary things that could have made you lose the baby. I was on the road and I couldn't go with you. Remember? I had to keep working to make sure we could put food on the table for our growing family. Then, 9 months later, you had her, thousands of miles away from here. You refused to let me be with you to see her take her first breath. My first child, Creamy. Wait, so, that saying is his again.
Right. So he's conflicting himself. Contradicting himself.
Yep. She's my first child, Creamy. You denied me that right. How come you never let me talk to the doctors who delivered her? Was there another man in the room while you gave birth? Her real father? Was that why you called me only after it was over? You don't know what you're talking about, Mrs. De La Crème spat. Mr. De La Crème barreled on. You told me they didn't know if you or the baby would live. And after that, you said you couldn't have any more children. Your insides were ruined. But 2 years later, miracle came. Thank God, a real miracle. The spitting image of her father. Tookie's mouth dropped open. Did he really believe that? Was a child's life worth more than the... Wait. Did he really believe that? Was a child's life worth more the more they resembled their parents? It's just an awkward sentence.
Yeah.
Mrs. De La Crème scoffed. You have lost your mind. That sword must have sliced your sanity. But she sounded less resolute than usual. Her face was pale. Her wrinkled lips pursed. Mr. De La Crème shut his one good eye. Woman, I cannot take your lies anymore. Just stop it. He turned and faced the wall, and suddenly, crack! He pummeled his fist through the flimsy plaster. A cloud of dust billowed everywhere. Tookie shot back and ducked behind the curtains across the hall. Tookie's mother whirled around. Christopher, you have gone crazy!
Oh,
Mr. De La Crème's skin flushed puce.
Puce? Maybe?
Puce?
Might be puce.
Puce.
Like
It's
a
gotta be
green.
puce. Well, Creamy, if I'm crazy, then you sure are breaking your number one rule, because you're making a hell of a lot out of eye contact with a crazy person right now, aren't you?
What?
Tookie's mother shot to her feet, grabbing Bellissima from her husband. I'll say it again. Not one bit of your ridiculous accusation is remotely true. Oh, but it is, Creamy, and you know it. And I'm going to tell everyone I know after I prove my gut instinct to be a scientific fact. He removed a yellow toothbrush, its bristles worn and bent, from his pocket and waved it in front of his wife's face. Tookie squinted and realized it was hers. She had brushed her teeth with it earlier that night. Mrs. De La Crème lunged for her husband and pinned him against the ruined wall. Oh, no, you won't. Oh, yes, I will, Mr. De La Crème cried, trying to push her aside. Right after Miracle gets chosen tomorrow, I have an appointment at the DNA paternity lab. This very toothbrush of your daughter's will prove she's not mine. And once I find that out, I'm sending Tookie away. I don't want her in this house anymore.
Whoa.
I'm sending her to the factories. Okay, so first of all, he's awful. Second of all, if they've been so conscious about like their presentation to the world and how they appear as like a perfect family and very wealthy, and now he's going to say, I'm just going to go out and ruin our names and ruin your name and my name and everyone else.
I'm just so conflicted because both parents have obviously stated they don't like their child.
Yep.
And so now he's threatening with, oh, I'm going to take this child I don't like away. I have a hard time believing her mom's going to be like, oh no, the different child, the forget a girl. I'm going to miss her so much. Please don't take her. Like, she's doing the please don't take her right now, I think, just as a, like,
I think
perfect
she's just
family.
mad that she's been accused of anything.
She's mad she's accused, and she wants to keep up the look of the perfect family. And take, you know, having a daughter disappear kind of alludes to some things going on. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't really think she's all that worked up about Tookie right now, if I had to guess.
Again, this doesn't make sense.
I dislike very much so.
She's awful, and I was just gonna send her away. I thought like they got along, and like she wanted to help him, like with his like circus act again,
but no, she let him fall. So
I guess that was the final straw.
Well, he was drunk, and he's perpetually drunk from now on, I guess. So
yep,
cool.
Oh, poor Tookie.
Poor Tookie.
Tookie's eyes goggled, but that would mean she'd become a factory dependent. She closed her eyes and thought of the shaved-headed, dull-eyed, miserable, penniless children trudging through the factory doors. That would be her life. Forever. Did her father really want that for her? Mrs. De La Crème shook her head slowly, but she said nothing. Once again, she didn't defend Tookie, nor did she debate his decision to send Tookie away.
Yep.
Maybe she wants to get rid of me, too.
Yep.
Tookie couldn't help it. She let out a squeak. Her mother didn't hear her, but her father, or whoever he was, turned in the direction of the sound and locked eyes with Tookie. At first, he looked surprised, even panicked, and then he stood up to his full height, possibly relieved. "Just go," he said gruffly, staring at her with his good eye. "For all of us."
You said that before.
Hmm?
You said that before at the end of the chapter where he
I
was
think
super
you're
drunk.
right. I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah. Must be his new catchphrase.
Jeez. So it must have been playing on his mind back then, too. Tookie gripped the rough curtain fabric. She wheeled backward out of the house, leaving the front door wide open. The words vibrated in her brain like a clapper in a bell. "There is nothing about me that lives within that girl, that circus freak. I'm sending her to the factories. Just go, for all of us." Her chest seared. It felt like her father's hands were squeezing all the air out of her body. She staggered down the porch steps into the evening's heat. Her bare feet skidded over the dead grass. The pain was so deep, tears did not even streak her face. "I have to get out of here. To somewhere far away. But where?" And then she realized, of course she knew where. Exodus. Well, this is going to be a really easy break then, with what a great way to have your character go off by herself. Oh, well, no one cares about you. They said to leave anyway, so there's no consequences to leaving.
There's no, like, we have to kill off the parent trope.
Which is good. So at least her parents are alive. They suck, but they're alive.
Just disown her, and therefore we don't have to worry about killing off the parents like a Disney movie. It's fine.
Yep. The zipper of Tookie's bag made a loud scritch as she tried to pull it closed. She winced, looked around to make sure no one heard, slipped her T-mail jail into the left pocket of her cargo pants and the TOOKE button into her right, and tiptoed out of the clothes-strewn bedroom. She paused in the doorway to glance at Miracle, who was sleeping soundly, letting out a giggle snore here and there. This might be the last time Tookie would see her sister, ever. Tookie wondered how she'd be able to fall asleep once she was separated from Miracle. Miracle's signature giggle snore had sort of become Tookie's sound machine, lulling her to sleep every night. "I know you'll get in," Tookie whispered. "I hope Modelland is everything you and Creamy always wanted. And more." Dawn was breaking as she crept down the stairs. Tookie had stayed awake all night, plotting and planning. She now knew for certain that this was her only option. This was what Wingtip was talking about. This was her dreaming big. Last night, after hearing her parents' conversation, she'd painted XO2 on the front door of her home, her secret signal to Lizzie. Less than 2 hours later, Tookie had heard a soft shriek outside her bedroom window. She looked out and saw a barren tree trunk bearing the same symbol, XO2. It was accompanied by a smiley face and the number 7, the time in the morning when they would meet. Tookie was escaping Peppertown forever. Escaping her parents, escaping with Lizzie to the place of their dreams and being in total control of their destinies. She could start her whole life over and become a remember girl.
Sure.
2 more steps. 1. Tookie curled her finger around the doorknob. She could taste the freedom. "Where do you think you're going?" Tookie jumped and spun around. Her mother stood behind her. She wore tight-fitting, iridescent, bone-colored jeans with a matching one-shouldered top made of silk jersey that read, "Modelland needs a miracle." Her cheeks shone with wrinkle redux. Bellissima, whom she tucked under her arm, wore the exact same ensemble, minus the face cream. For a moment, Tookie couldn't move. This was the first time she'd faced her mother since overhearing the dreadful conversation the night before. Instantly, all the feelings of shame and betrayal and rejection rushed back to her. "Well?" Mrs. De La Crème repeated, her gaze shifting from Tookie to the bag. Her face brightened. "Oh, Tookie! What a good sister you are! You've already packed the extra supplies for Miracle for today. That's very thoughtful of you." Tookie's heart pounded. How could her mother act like last night hadn't happened? Creamy had all but agreed that Tookie could be sent off to work in one of Metopia's horrible factories. Tookie swiveled her head back to the narrow window at the side of the front door. The sun was over the tree line. I just wanted to go outside for a minute. There's no time for anybody but the miracle today, Tookie. Mrs. De La Crème turned to the stairs. And here she is now. Miracle bounded down the stairs and did a full body wave when she reached the last step. The smize rested gently in her palm. It glittered and hummed. A small case was in her other hand. "Da-ta!" she cried. "Time to go." Mrs. De La Crème walked to the front door. "No," Tookie dug in her heels. "I'm not going." Mrs. De La Crème stopped short in the foyer, swung around and stared at Tookie. "Have you lost your mind? Of course you're going." The door gaped open. Mr. De La Crème stood by the car, Brian Quincy at his side. Mr. De La Crème wore his old Christmas cream crowbat costume, the exact costume he'd lost his eye in. He'd cut out the Modelland Needs a Miracle portion of his t-shirt and sewn it to the abdomen.
Okay. Weird flex, but alright.
Whatever. There were even old brown spots on the fabric, evidence of the bright red blood that had stained the costume on the day his life had changed forever.
Okay.
"We gotta go, and we gotta go now," Mr. De La Crème yelled. "I am not missing the countdown and the opportunity to change our sad excuses for lives. Plus," he added, "I have an important appointment to get to after Miracle is chosen." Ouch. He tapped his hip. Tookie could see the outline of her toothbrush underneath the pocket of his costume. Mrs. De La Crème seized Tookie hard by the neck and walked her toward the car. "No!" Tookie cried desperately, trying to wrench free. She swung her neck to the side of the house and saw the XO2 written on the tree. All she could think about was how desperate and scared Lizzie had seemed in Ladorno the day before. "They're going to kill me," she had said. What if Lizzie was telling the truth? Tookie's gut told her that if they didn't escape today, something dreadful would happen to her one and only friend. Mr. De La Crème bounded over. "Look, girl," he growled, grabbing Tookie roughly by the shoulders. "You need to get in the car and help your sister with the most important day of our lives." He walked Tookie toward the vehicle and shoved her into the back of the car as one might shove a pan of bread into the oven. "In you go." Tookie was surrounded by garment bags, shoe boxes, makeup cases, hairsprays, and hair-straightening apparatuses. "Hold this," Miracle said bossily, shoving the smize into Tookie's lap while she buckled her seatbelt. The smize rattled inside its case, as if it were trying to escape. It was a feeling that Tookie understood far too well. Tookie pressed her hands to the back window. As Mr. De La Crème started the car, Tookie's ache for Lizzie cut so deep she envisioned Lizzie standing just beyond the tree line, her flame-red hair wild around her face. Then she sat up straighter. That wasn't a vision. "Oh my God!" she screamed. "Lizzie!" Miracle swiveled around and followed Tookie's gaze. "Creamy, there's a dirty girl in our yard." Ugh, Ryan looked too. "She looks like roadkill."
Oh, that's nice.
"He's a keeper."
They're all keepers. It's great.
Lizzie took a few steps towards the car as if she were considering chasing after it. Her shoulders drooped. Her mouth hung open. Her arms were heavy at her sides. She looked so small standing there, so helpless. If Peppertown ever had even the tiniest wisp of a breeze, it could have blown her away. "Roadkill?" Mrs. De La Crème's eyebrows arched. "Where?" She swiveled around to look at Lizzie too. Her eyes narrowed darkly. Lizzie's eyes popped wide, as if she'd just seen in something that terrified her. She took a couple of wheeling steps backward, her hands trembling. And then Lizzie let out a shrill, window-shattering, eardrum-piercing scream, a sound that sent tremors through Tookie's limbs, a sound Tookie would never forget as long as she lived. "I'm so sorry," Tookie called. Lizzie's screaming was intensifying as Tookie moved away from her. "Lizzie, I'll be back for you tonight, I promise." The car made a sweeping left turn onto the street, moving farther and farther away from the small red-headed girl. Lizzie's screams persisted. Tookie could hear those loud, shrill, betrayed wails for blocks and blocks, reverberating over and over as the De La Crèmes drove down the wide avenue full of cars, all on their way to the day of discovery.
So Lizzie's dead.
I don't think there's going to be much hope for her.
No.
Something bad's about to happen.
Yay.
Well, there was the fun chapter.
Poor main
Poor Lizzie,
characters.
poor
and
Tookie, all of them.
There's
Just-
literally, though, no redeemable character. Other than Lizzie. If she can live. But she probably not gonna live.
I'm guessing that she doesn't. I'm guessing something bad's about to happen to her.
Yep, and if it doesn't now, when Tookie rescues her, she's gonna die anyway, so it's fine.
Yep, not looking bright for poor Lizzie. I don't think there's much hope for her, unfortunately. I don't think it's going in that direction.
It's not a whole lot of hope for anybody here. Alright, well, we'll just move on to chapter 8. Welcome to T-Dod. Oh, good, I get the narrator. For like over a page. Can you smell it? Feel it? Taste it? Oh, I can. And it tastes, oh, so sweet. And the sound? Deafening. Think about the loudest, most riotous crowd you've ever been in, and quadruple it. Then multiply that by the power of 10. That is the day of discovery. And yes, my darling, that delightful day has arrived. The whole world is flooding to Metopia to see the delectable spectacle unfold. It takes place all over the planet, of course, on the sexy beaches of Terra Bossa Nova, on the strip of Strip Town, around the Taj Gardens and Chakra. But there's nowhere like Metopia for the most authentic experience.
Wait, those are all different places in the world?
Yep.
So this is a worldwide phenomenon, not just like the country?
Yep. Not just for Metopia, it's for Terra Bossa Nova, Strip Town, and Taj Gardens and Chakra, which leads me to believe that Chakra's India, and I still haven't deduced where Terra Bossa Nova is. Strip Town's probably just like Vegas or something. I'm just spitballing. And Metopia, I don't know. Metopia's America?
Maybe they're in France. There's a lot of different weird, like, French words. Right?
Yeah. So it's a possibility. I don't know where we're at. Or what's quite going on. I love Tyra, thanks. Thanks for this world building, I hate it. Modelland is right there, after all. At the top of Metopia's highest peak. Everyone wants to see the scouts' first descent from the mountain and their final flight back into the land. Their capacious carriages full of new recruits. But some visitors don't trek from their corner of the globe just to see the scouts' initial descent. Some come to experience something else. The aftermath. The madness that affects the forsaken, the rejected, the unchosen, and the denied once all the discovery after parties have ended. There are always some rejected candidates who just cannot accept Modelland's decision. They are so sure they deserve a spot in the new class, so convinced that there has been a terrible mistake, that they embark on a pilgrimage up the diabolical divide in hopes that Modelland will see firsthand the grave oversight that has been committed. Those intrepid females, the pilgrims, as they are called, have tunnel vision so laser-focused that no one can convince them they're mistaken. People call this debilitating illness the plague.
That is not the plague. When we're talking about plague, it's a lot worse.
That's not the plague. That's not.
Feeling sorry for yourself is not the plague when we're talking about, like, great plagues.
All I can picture is Mother Gothel. The plague.
The plague.
No.
Yes.
No!
Yes! The first telltale symptoms are profuse sweating, massive headaches, and bulging veins. This plague is worse than the one you might already be familiar with. The B one. Bubonic, that is. That plague induces seizures, fevers, chills, gland swelling, the upchucking of blood, and the decomposition of skin while one is still alive. But I will take the bubonic plague any day, for if it's caught in time, it can be ousted from the body with a simple swallow of one of the two mycins, Genta or Strepto. The pilgrim plague, however, is terminal, darling, and I am not referring to an airline departure lounge. None who have journeyed up the mountain have ever made it to Modelland, and none have returned to Metopia alive.
So she'd still rather have the bubonic plague, which killed how many, I'm assuming millions of people.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody needs a therapist.
Oh.
I think there's a dire need for psychologists and therapists in this world.
I think that would probably help a lot of people.
It's gonna help a lot because apparently these people can't think for themselves and they need help
feel
working
sorry for
through
themselves,
problems.
can't accept the fact that they can't all be winners, and then go nuts. This sounds familiar.
It's great. Good. Sounds very familiar. Now, doesn't that send shivers all the way down to your sky-high stilettos?
Sure.
Sure it does.
Sure.
I'm terrified. I'd much rather have the Pilgrim Plague than the bubonic plague, but
I was gonna say that it's kind of messed up that people were traveling from all over the world to see the suffering of these girls that got rejected. I retract that thought because I think it would be hilarious to go and laugh at them.
It might
be. Be like, guys, come on. You know that you've all been told, this has been established in the world building already, that most likely you are not getting in.
I mean, the Pilgrim Plague is basically why I watched all of America's Next Top Model anyways. All people freaking out, boys and girls alike. Like, I know this is your dream, but there's so many other dreams out there that life's not this serious, I promise. Life can be a lot worse than performing poorly in some sort of little side competition. Fine.
Even if you lose, the world will still go on. It's not the end of the world.
No.
There's always a bright side to everything, or you'll find a different opportunity. Life is what you make it.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I would totally be in this crowd of spectators that just sits there and laughs at these poor people.
Laughs and shake our heads.
Look at these crazy people climbing up the mountain that think they're all that, and they're not.
People.
You think you're all that, but you're not.
You think you're all that, but you're not.
All right, I think we're done with Tyra's voice. At least in that perspective. By the time the De La Crème car pulled into downtown Ladorno, people had already spilled out onto the streets. Tourists lined the curb, gawking at every car that passed. An unnaturally bleached blonde, orange-tan, middle-aged man sold pink, purple, and turquoise cotton candy in the shape of Intoxibella hairdos from the latest Modelland magazine fashion editorial. Sugary, asymmetrical bob, a mess of candy curls, and a flossy nest of sharp-looking spikes. That wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4. It was only 5 lines, and really hard to read. Everyone wore something Modelland related. T-shirts with a photo of the mystifying mountain on the front, hats with the I logo, dresses, shoes, and hats bearing pictures of Ciel. I forgot how to say her name already.
C-tilde-L.
The ravishing Intoxibellas' intoxicating eyes entranced Tookie, pulling her in. Once again, the merchandise was adorned with the slogan, "Where the hell is C-tilde-L?" Tookie's stomach lurched when she saw the shoulder bags a man was selling with photos of Exodus, the new teleportaling. I just don't like that it's not teleporting. It's teleportaling 7-7 on them. Exodus. Lizzie. She shut her eyes tight, Lizzie's scream echoing in her mind. Protesters also lined the sidewalks, holding up signs that said, "Women, don't walk! It's all a sham! T-Dod's a crock! A phony exam!" Overpowering all the spectators were the thousands upon thousands of candidates making their way to Ladorno Square. Homely girls, riveting girls, short and tall girls, droopy-eyed and doe-eyed girls, shapely, hipped and pigeon-toed, and slew and flat-footed girls, Twig-limbed and ample-figured and athletic girls. I feel like this is a Dr. Seuss book. Red fish, blue fish, one fish, two fish,
red fish, blue fish.
Homely girl, riveting girl, short and tall girl. All of them marched into the square with confidence. Tookie had forgotten that not all the participants were exactly Intoxibella quality. Wow. She stared at them as they passed, envious of their guts and determination. Plus, none of them had to stand around helping their younger sisters realize her destiny. I mean, probably some of them are, but you're just kind of blindsided to all of that. I don't know. As the De La Crème vehicle rolled toward a parking lot, Tookie's mother leaned over to apply a puff of bronzer to Miracle's cheeks. Now, Miracle, you know that you must runway walk the whole 15 minutes the music is playing, right? No chassis, jetés, or pas de bourrées. You hear me? I know, Creamy. Miracle opened her eyes wide to allow Mrs. De La Crème to apply mascara to her bottom lashes. And when the scout chooses you, be gracious, Mrs. De La Crème went on. They appreciate good manners. Your mother has been preparing for this very day since before you were born, Mr. De La Crème said. He pulled into a handicapped parking space, beating another car to the spot. Success, he murmured, pumping his fist. Success!
He's so awful.
I hate him.
They're all so awful.
I do not like any
Both
of
their parents.
It's bad. It's really bad.
It's like just when you think the one is slightly better than the other, you're like, nope. Retract all statements.
No, they're really
Redacted.
the same character, except one is into dolls and one is into the circus. Like, they're exactly the same person because they're both awful. The De La Crèmes and Brian, can't forget about Brian.
Hello, welcome to my cave.
Which is weird because, you know, if Brian's gonna be there, why the hell does Tookie need to be there?
Because she's their slave. She's like a Cinderella.
But Brian's
He's
a
just
helpful gay
there.
friend. He should be better at this than sisters anyways. The De La Crèmes and Brian clambered out of the car and onto the street. Mr. De La Crème held the encased smize under his arm like a football. This sounds safe for such a delicate prize that we worked so hard for by pumping out all the water through our sink. Mrs. De La Crème shoved Tookie's large X's/accessories bag into Tookie's arms. We have lots of work to do. She held tight to Tookie's wrist, pulling Tookie toward the town square, which was paved in bleached marble as far as the eye could see. 3 sides of the square pulsated with throngs of spectators jockeying for position and participants preparing for the event. The 4th side offered a perfect view of the mysterious mountain, almost butting up against it. 6 glittering fountains decorated the square, spewing effervescent plumes of water that sent unwitting tourists scurrying for cover. An enormous, exquisitely carved 8-story clock stood on the north side, and screens flanked the perimeter, many projecting images of the approximately 1,000 other cities hosting chaotic Day of Discovery events all over the world.
Wow.
One screen showed girls standing atop a frozen lake in the town of Polinian. Just guess. Others displayed candidates milling excitedly in a cleared-out sugarcane field in Quito, pelt-wearing tribal leaders dancing ceremonially around them. A third depicted a massive crowd of young ladies gathered around an auto racetrack in the city of 500. That's literally 5 and 100 put together, but with 100 capitalized. There was an opening that offered a panoramic view of the Modelland mountain. 3 obelisks stood at the base, pointing straight up into the sky. 1 sparkling ivory, 1 golden, 1 bisque that was covered with spots. No one knew who had built them. They'd appeared overnight 6 months ago. But the obscure obelisks, as they come to be called, attracted their own gathering of spectators, many carrying religious icons who believed that the structures were significant to them. Others posed allowing friends to take pictures of them with the obelisks in the background. Those damn ugly-ass obelisks. That's a tongue twister. Mrs. De La Crème muttered as she walked. They block the view of the mountain. I don't think they're ugly. Tookie gazed at them with wonder. I think they're architecturally interesting, unique, a mystery. The De La Crème family continued through the square. Tourists, television cameramen, and reporters, horse-mounted riot police, and Modelland hopefuls jammed the space. More girls were getting prepped in the tent areas around the perimeter of the square called Walker's Village. You're dragging your feet, Tookie, Mrs. De La Crème snapped. Finally, they arrived at Walker's Village. They found a clear patch of grass and dropped their bags of gear. Most of the girls were changing in the open, their body parts exposed for the world to see. Not my miracle, Mr. De La Crème boomed as he pulled a brand new blow-up tent from the large duffel he was carrying. He pressed the automatic inflation button, and a white and cream striped tent staked itself to the ground. Mrs. De La Crème and Brian surrounded Miracle, opening makeup cases and pulling out needles and thread and pins and scissors.
Are they sewing her into her clothes?
I'm thinking they're sewing her into her clothes and cutting her fingers off or something. Like, I guess they waited to do alterations until now because you can only wear clothes once. I don't know. Brian, open the duffel that Tookie brought, Mrs. De La Crème commanded. Oh, shit.
Oh, it's about to hit the fan.
Brian unzipped the bag crammed with Tookie's escape gear. What the hell is this? In each hand, he held a flashlight and a pillow. His eyes settled on Tookie. Oh, honey, good thinking, Mrs. De La Crème said, running to the bag. Brian, bind these 2 flashlights to the tent ceiling for extra light. The pillows are perfect for Bellissima to nap on. And green bananas, Tookie, you didn't. Yeah, you're right, I didn't, Tookie thought bitterly. Those green bananas were supposed to last for a week. For her and Lizzie. Mr. De La Crème and Brian waited outside the tent while Miracle put on the gauzy, strapless vintage dress that was the exact color of her skin.
Good, so she'll look like she's
naked anyway, so it's fine.
Although, this whole duffel bag thing is going a lot better than I thought.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
Find some other mysterious item inside.
I was thinking, that maybe they're be like, oh, well, where's the dress? Tookie was supposed to be in the bag, but you're not supposed to put a dress in a duffel bag, so that wouldn't have made much sense either, so.
The skirt fanned out nearly 3 feet from her slim hips. I thought she was curvy, but alright. And the folds settled in such a way that the dress looked like the surface of an elegantly rippling ocean, except it's skin-colored. Tookie crouched down beside her sister.
An ocean of skin.
An ocean of skin. Good. Yeah, good. Tookie crouched down beside her sister and began fastening the row of hundreds of tiny buttons on the bodice, her small fingers expertly sliding each button through its loop. Mrs. De La Crème grabbed a stack of bobby pins and began to fix Miracle's hair. Tookie moved closer to her mother, thinking this might be a good time to talk. Creamy, she said softly. After Miracle is chosen, nothing has to change, right? You're not going to send me away to become a factory dependent, are you? She's thinking this last part.
Why would you think that this is a good time to talk to your mother, as she's so focused on the only daughter she cares about? Right before she's supposed to go on this big event of the year, this T-Dod.
I'm just thinking,
why would you think that this is a good time to talk?
I'm just thinking,
this is not a good idea.
If my parents treated me like this, I would be more than happy to go and become a factory dependent and go and earn my own way and work for my when
it talked about the factory dependents earlier in the book, it says they're not paid anything. They're forced to live in slums and they're not paid anything. They're just giving mediocre housing, and I think it also mentions food, but
she'd also have her own space, I guess. I don't know.
Living in the slums, but
It's probably how she's gonna end up in Exodus. I'm just saying, like...
That's also a good point.
Running away with no money, no leads to anything,
No skills.
just wandering, no skills.
That's a good point.
So she's gonna end up there anyway if she runs away. Tookie, your father has made some hard decisions, but he is my husband, and I have to honor them, Mrs. De La Crème murmured absently, applying gloss to Miracle's lips. I should imagine things will change quite a bit. Tookie gasped. So does that mean... But Mrs. De La Crème had already turned away. Tookie's mouth hung open. So that was it? They really were sending her away. Tears pricked her eyes. Finally, when Miracle was finished, Mrs. De La Crème opened the case holding the smize. She slowly lifted the lid and a glow spilled out, bathing the tent's interior with multi-golden luminescence. She moaned in ecstasy. Come here, baby, Mrs. De La Crème breathed. Come to Creamy. I hate it so much. I hate this so much. Tookie wasn't sure if her mother was speaking to the smize or to Miracle, but as if on cue, Miracle glided as if in a trance toward her mother and placed her chin right into her mother's cupped hands. The smize sucked onto Miracle's face, wiggling itself into place, and rested above her eyes, its undulating colors creating the most magnificent eyeshadow effect Tookie had ever seen. Tookie resisted the overwhelming urge to reach out and stroke the smize. Stroke. Nice smize. Nice. My favorite. A gasp rippled through the crowd as soon as they saw Miracle and her smize. Once again, I love how smize is capitalized. It just emphasizes the whole word in case it didn't need it, you know?
Does it stand for anything, like, in the book context? Because normally if you capitalize stuff, it's an acronym.
No, but in this case, as Tyra's put it, you know, smize. Smize. Smiling with your eyes. That's literally all it means. And here it's just little totem things, I guess. One girl who was biting her nails began to cry, and another looked as if she was about to pummel Miracle. But she made eye contact with Mr. De La Crème and backed off. Ooh, Brian cooed, scuttling over to admire Miracle's gold three-dimensional eyeshadow. Gorgeous, baby, Mr. De La Crème seconded, lacing his fingers together. Just gorgeous, with or without that thing. Tookie had to agree. Miracle was a stunning girl, but the smize made her beauty otherworldly. A smidgen more stunning than the 7/7s Tookie had seen the night before. That's pretty damn good looking then, if she's looking better than superheroes, but alright.
Are they really superheroes?
They got superpowers.
The one is just, like, overly sexy. That's not a superpower.
Are you sure? The one's a saleswoman. But I mean, she can get people to do whatever she wants them to, I guess, by buying things. I think
like, maybe the one that could teleport. I could see that being a useful superpower.
Yeah, she is very, like, superhero-y compared to everybody else. Like, teleportation, it's good for modeling. Like, really? Alright.
That's a good point. How is that supposed to help? Like, the one that can sell anything, that's good for her modeling career. Like, you can go and sell products and, like, be the face of whatever perfume or whatever they talk about in the book. That's fine. Looking sexy in this context, I guess it would be not necessarily a superpower, but very useful.
Helpful. Yeah.
The never aging, also never useful, but also very useful, but teleportation
just doesn't, like, stand out as much. Maybe if you had to teleport to different events, but, like, it's kind of stretching it, I feel like. I don't know. Who are we to question Tyra? Tyra knows all. The great eye of Tyra knows all. Riot police began to move the crowd behind the barricades, clearing the square. A shrieking whistle filled the air, and all eyes turned skyward. A bowling ball-shaped man with a full white beard and mustache, Santa, twinkling little eyes, and a jutting chin, wearing a white top hat, oh, it's not Santa, swept straight down into the now empty square, supported by a harness.
You know, in Fairly Odd Parents, they have the mayor who's a
Doug
bowling shape man.
Dimmadome!
Yeah!
Doug Dimmadome, the owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
That's right, Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
That's what I'm picturing.
I see, it's Doug Dimmadome. Tookie recognized him as Devin Rump VI, the mayor of Metopia. So basically the same thing. Greetings, Mayor Rump said. He's a cool voice. Greetings, Mayor Rump said. His voice echoed off the hard marble surfaces. Eatings, eatings, eatings. Members of the quadrant councils of Peppertown, Pitter Patter, Shivra, and Ladurnal, and their spouses stood on the side stage. So greetings is what he said, and eatings is what echoed. So
gotcha.
That's
It's
what
an
happened the other
echo,
chapter where like he
echo.
was missing random syllables at the beginning of words, I guess, was just the echo.
I don't think that's the case in the past. In the past ones, wasn't that the principal that was talking?
No, I think it was Devin. We'll have to go back and look.
We'll
I'm
double
not
check.
sure. I'll get to double check later. Each council member's wife was decked out, and the products his quadrant's factories were famous for. I have the great honor of welcoming all of you from around the globe to the fashion capital of the world, Metopia, Mr. Rump boomed into a microphone headset. Today is the day you have all waited 364 days for, the Day of Discovery, or T-Dod, as you young folk have come to call it, because we haven't already referred to this a billion times and need to establish it once more.
Also, for the echoing part, did they really have it echo and then say that yes, it echoed because you couldn't tell?
His voice echoed off the hard marble surfaces. Eatings, eatings, eatings.
You could have just left it at
It echoed.
it echoed off the surfaces
and not confused listeners by me having to read eatings and then having none of the following sentence make any sense. They really only make some sense if you're reading the book page. I want to wish all of you competing for Modelland admission the best of luck. Metopia has a long-standing track record of producing many Intoxibellas, which is why so many of you trek here from your faraway homelands each year.
If they're coming from other places in the world to Metopia, Metopia has not produced them.
They just happen to be there when this event happens. And I don't think that counts,
That's
right?
like growing up in the US and then in order to be in the Olympics, going and becoming a citizen of Italy. And then competing for Italy, and then being like, I'm Italy's best athlete. No.
But it's not like you move there months before and become a citizen. You literally show up the day of the Olympics and you have the Italian flag wrapped around your neck and you're like, hi, I'm an Italian now. I represent my people.
You got your fake Mario mustache.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Also, if Metopia is one of the bigger places where they're chosen from, why would you go there? Is it I was kind of under the assumption it's a certain number of people from every place. Why not go to the least populated place where you have the best option?
Completely random, I feel like.
But you're not gonna go to one city and be like, oh yeah, no one's chosen from here.
You might. This isn't the Hunger Games. It's gonna kind of turn into the Hunger Games, but it's not actually the Hunger Games. And today, we hope to send many more of you to that special place on the mountain. Cheers erupted in the crowd. What will be the look of this season? The mayor asked no one in particular. Is it the year of the blondes? The brunettes? Perhaps it's a ginger season. Ginger! Yes! A strawberry blonde in a pink gown cried a few feet away. They never pick a ginger! Poor gingers.
Aww.
Will it be tanned skin or rosy epidermises?
Why?
Because you can't say skin again.
Why not just say, will it be tan or rosy skin? Or will it be tan skin or rosy?
You gotta say a fancy
Why
word.
Epidermis?
Kaylee, if you use fancy words, it proves that you're a smart author.
It's not even fancy. It's just weird and out of place.
So dumb. Will it be tan skin or rosy epidermises? Rump went on. Blue irises. I don't even know these words, but I'm assuming it means brown.
What?
Blue irises, cognac ones?
Cognac?
Cognac?
It's whatever, it's like
Cognac?
a drink, right? I don't know how to say it, shoot.
This is what happens when you use words like this.
Hang on, we're gonna find
That's
it out.
not fun. That's what you mean? Brown. Just say
Well,
coffee
like, this
colored.
I don't know, it's...
Just said blue, and then he lists emerald or hazel. Just say brown. Cognac.
See, although it's one
Does
that...
it mean brown?
It's a kind of, brandy. It is like
It's like a warm brown.
like a warm brown.
But if you're gonna use blue and use emerald or hazel as follow-up colors for eye colors, then choose brown. Or another color that means brown other than, here's a drink-colored one that here's another good point. How many 15-year-olds are gonna know what that is?
That's a good point.
They shouldn't know, at least in America, what kind of alcohol that is and therefore what color it is, but maybe they do. Blue, cognac, emerald, or hazel. Just my 2 cents. Tookie used to watch the mayor every year on television on the day of discovery, hoping he'd utter, "Will it be girls with one brown and one green eye?" But it had never happened.
And it probably never
And
will.
it probably won't, because he'd spend a lot of time standing there talking about specific eye colors.
Will it be a blue eye and a brown eye? A hazel
Hazel
eye
eye
and a
and
blue
a
eye? A brown eye and a green eye? You could go on and
Just
on
and on. And Tyra really doesn't need to do that. This book already goes on and on.
A pink
And
eye and a
on.
black eye.
Good. Yay. Will it be the slim-limbed, the slightly curved, the athletically built? The mayor continued, his words echoing throughout the massive square. Will it be you? More cheers. And if you are not chosen, don't fret. Utopia has many wonderful jobs manufacturing clothes, accessories, and beauty products. Holding a job at a factory is just as worthy of esteem as being an Intoxibella.
Sure.
The mayor paused for cheers. He was met with dead silence. That's a mood. Suddenly, a hand slipped into Tookie's and squeezed. It was Miracle's. Her wide eyes flitted back and forth nervously. Do I look okay? Tookie looked at her sister, suddenly feeling a protective and loving rush. It wasn't Miracle's fault their parents were horrible people. Miracle might not have been the best sibling, but she was all Tookie had. You look absolutely beautiful, she said. Breathtaking, really. Now remember, Miracle, dance in your spirit, but not with your body, 'kay? I know. You sound like Creamy, Miracle playfully groaned. Tookie had a sudden revelation. This might be it. The last time she would see Miracle. All day of discovery candidates, are you ready? That really threw me off because that's not Miracle saying that, that's Mayor Rump called. Same paragraph.
What?
You have Miracle speaking the first sentence of that paragraph, and Mayor Rump speaking the last sentence of that same paragraph.
That's gotta be an editing error.
Yeah, probably just was never caught.
I was trying to look at spaces between sentences, but since that so rarely occurs...
It literally,
Yeah, I
it
think
literally
it's
ends
just
the last
an
time she
editing
would
error.
see Miracle, and then all day of discovery candidates. Are you ready? Mayor Rump called. Just like a resounding, excited yes filled the air, so loud that it made the mayor and the Quadrant Council members clamp their hands over their ears. Cowbells clanged again. The crowd clapped in slow unison. Mr. De La Crème crouched down to Miracle and held the sides of her face. Dance in your spirit, but not with your body. She just said this.
She did.
So is he being an ass by saying it again? Or
Maybe
is
this
just
is something
bad
they
writing?
always tell her, but that hasn't been established.
Dance with your spirit, but not with your body. You want this, baby, right? Miracle sucked on her bottom lip, eating off her lip gloss, and then stared blankly into her father's eyes. Come on now, baby. Wake up. This is our destiny. This sounds really sexual. I don't like it. Miracle nodded, shaking out the tension in her arms and legs exactly like she did before her Maven of Movement competitions.
She doesn't want this at all, does she?
I don't think she does.
I think all she wants to do is dance.
Yep.
And they're forcing her into this.
Poor
This
Miracle.
can't go... But this can't go poorly at all.
Nope, this won't go poorly.
Nothing will
It's
go
fine.
wrong.
It's fine. The time has come. Mayor Rump picked up a long striped tube and lit it with a match. Sparks began to fly, because this is really safe. The tube shivered and bucked. Lives are about to magically change forever. Candidates, get ready. I already called you ready. Rump let the sparkling tube go. It shot into the sky and exploded into the clouds, creating a gigantic burst of blues and pinks and golds, visible even in the daylight. Tookie gawked at it, her hand to her mouth. When she looked back at Mayor Rump, his harness had yanked him up into the sky once more. Fireworks continued to explode around him. And then, from his dangling perch, the mayor uttered the very word everyone had waited for all year. Begin. And that's the end of chapter 8. So, that was fun.
I feel like the whole, fight between the mom and dad and, accusing,
It just kind of disappears when he's not drunk.
it just seems so out of place.
And it's weird because Tookie's like, hey, Mom, was Dad right? She's going, oh, well, they were fighting, so obviously, Mom's gonna defend me. She's like, no, I decide with my husband. If your husband is treating you like this, you don't have to side with him. If anyone treats you like this, don't side with them, please.
And, regardless of whether or not Tookie is only, his half-child or not, her mother should not just be like, okay, we'll just get rid of her. It's fine.
No! My child. Bye, my child. It's fine.
Oh,
So,
man.
with that... No, we're not 20% through this book yet. We're almost to
Great.
page 100.
Wow.
And we've got so much more to enjoy still. It's going to be great, guys. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below and let us know what you think so far of the series. And if you're liking what you see, go ahead and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our wonderful Modelland shenanigans. It's really been a great time so far. So I can't wait to get people's comments and hear what they think about the books.
It'll at least give a bunch of laughs, we hope.
Hopefully.
I mean, we're pretty entertained.
We're highly entertained by this. It's terrible and we're highly entertained.
But from what we've heard, the best parts are yet to come.
I can't wait.
Best. Oh, wrong word. Best.
Best parts.
So,
yep, guess we'll see you guys next time.
right. Bye.